Brilliance Audio.
The Vanishing Tide by Hilary Tailor. Performed by Hannah Curtis. Isla. Sliding the key into the lock was harder than she thought. Isla had waited almost 10 years to enter this house, and now she didn't need Astrid's permission. She still felt like an intruder. The last time she'd visited, she had bought wine and flowers. It had been a significant birthday for Astrid. Isla had felt there should be some acknowledgement, even though Astrid had not remembered Isla's birthday for years. Astrid had given her a curt nod of appreciation when she'd handed the flowers over. There were only 18 years between them. They should have been more like friends. But, just as before, she'd found herself cold and alone for the weekend, while Astrid painted in the studio. Isla had used the time to brood. She was past 40, and still with no family of her own. She didn't want to be here. Astrid didn't want her here. No wonder she couldn't hold down a relationship. She had never been shown how to care for anyone else. Astrid was all she had, all she would ever have. Isla was suddenly floored by the understanding that this would never change. She had lost her opportunity to make her own family. She had been too busy moping over the mess she'd left behind in this house. 2 days later, when she saw the flowers lying on the kitchen countertop, wilting in their cellophane, something inside her snapped. This would be the last time. If Astrid wanted her company, she would have to ask for it. The request never came, and when the time stretched between them, it had been more a relief than a heartbreak. As Isla looked around the place, remembering that weekend, it struck her that Astrid had always been incapable of nurturing the living, and she had passed this affliction on. It was probably the only thing they had in common. A faint chemical scent she couldn't put her finger on drew her to the foot of the stairs. There was a large circular stain on the oatmeal carpet, pale grey in colour, not what she'd imagined. She crouched down and touched it, conscious of being close to something very profound. It was dry and crisp, and when she drew her hand back, a fine white powder coated her fingertips. She wondered who had taken the trouble to do this. It must have been hard to clean. She stood. Using the stairs would be difficult without thinking about Astrid's last moments. But even so, as she stepped over the stain, a small seed of excitement began to grow in the pit of her stomach. Maybe the information Astrid refused to provide when she was alive could be prized from this house now she was dead. Astrid had always delivered the truth like an unwanted meal. It didn't matter if it was unpalatable to the recipient. You were to eat it all without complaint. If Astrid had wanted to tell Isla the circumstances surrounding her Aunt Claire's death, no doubt she would have taken delight in frightening her with the gory details. But to refuse to talk about it at all, well, that was something else. The story of Isla's father had been repeated like a folk song throughout her youth. He was a waste of space. He didn't care. He's gone, gone, gone. Astrid could have used his death to curry sympathy, but she didn't. It was the women who mattered in this family. Men added a layer of complication. It was a lesson Isla was still trying to unlearn. As she reached out to steady herself, she noticed the finial at the end of the balustrade. The tip was missing, broken off by Astrid's fall. Isla touched her own head and winced at the thought. She had felt fine about coming alone, staying here by herself. It hadn't crossed her mind to book into the only hotel in the village, but when she started to walk up the stairs, she felt a resistance, the flex of a muscle willing her to go back down. Halfway up, she paused, unsure what to think. Astrid was gone. Isla would never again bear the brunt of her disapproval. But the house was charged with friction. She could feel it, gathering round her like mist rising up from the sea. She said out loud, "This is my house now." The words sank through the air like stones through water, and before she finished saying them, she knew it wasn't true.